Okay, we're back. We're live. We're here on ThinkTech Talks. We're talking to Senator Glenn Wakai, Chair of the Economic Development and Technology Committee in the Hawaii State Senate. Hi, Senator.
Great to be here.
Nice to see
Jay.
you here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. And Jeff Hahn, who is with Techmana. I guess you're the principal of Techmana.
Yes, I am.
Techmana is everywhere.
A little bit of everywhere.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you for coming down,
Thank you.
Jeff. So today, we're name the show, Sausage, come finally, and the reference is to HB 1090, which is the non-compete bill that was just passed by the whole
House and
legislature.
Senate.
Yeah. So, and it awaits signature by the governor.
That is correct.
And we can talk about the prospects there. But it was such an interesting bill. Full disclosure, I supported the bill.
All right.
Smart man.
But I want to get into where it came from, why it came, who the supporters were, all that. So let's see. It started with you, Jeff. So what does the bill say?
So what the bill says is that employment agreements that bar you from working for a competitor, or a non-competition agreement, for employees of technology businesses are unenforceable in the state of Hawaii. So for the technology employees in particular, this makes our laws very similar to those in California, where basically you're free to work in the legal profession of your choice.
That's great, but why? I mean, what's the reason for having that change in the law?
So, coming from a technology background, it's very difficult to hire employees here in Hawaii, and it was to my great surprise to discover that these were actually enforced here in Hawaii, because I had moved from starting my original technology career in California, where they were not. And so seeing people barred from working in different industries, or even forced to go back to the mainland, contributed to my assessment that having these types of laws on the books here really made Hawaii not a good place to do business for technology. And if one of many steps in making Hawaii a better technology environment.
Let's take the scenario of what could happen. Okay, so I'm working for, let's call it 800-pound corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's a provision in my written contract that they pretty much insisted on when I took the job. And, and if I'd scratched that out, they would have scratched me out. There would have been no job, And this provision, what does this provision say in substance?
It says maybe something like, I will not provide any services to anyone in any capacity for somebody that I'd worked with or I had met through you in the course of my work.
That covers a lot of ground.
Yes, it does.
So pretty much everything you would do in the job.
It could. And Hawaii being such a small place, and depending upon what you were actually working on, it could include everyone. So a very good example of some clauses that came up in testimony. One guy actually had, I will not provide services to my client or my client's client.
Ooh, wow, that's incredible. It's like my children's children.
Yes.
My grandchildren, my children's children. Any legatee, all the way down the line.
Unfortunately, the client could be somebody like Hawaiian Airlines.
Yeah.
So if the client is Hawaiian Airlines and everybody that uses Hawaiian Airlines is their client, where does the person work?
So it shuts you out.
Basically.
For as long as that period is, whatever is in the contract, and for the geographical area is in the contract. So why aren't those enough to protect the employee, to say, this is only going to affect you for a period of time, and it's only going to affect you in a certain geographical location? Why isn't that enough, Jeff?
It could be enough, but...
Yeah, it's like 200 feet.
Right.
I mean.
but the Hawaii State Supreme Court, in their last rulings, held that a statewide ban was geographically okay, and 3 years was the time frame that was also
That's enough to make you change your career. In other words, that would blow you out for enough time and enough space to make it impossible for you to practice your career, your occupation, or leave town. You have to leave town.
You would have to keep current with the technology. You have to go somewhere else to work. 3 years is too long.
Yeah, and so if that's what happens, then we the state, we lose the, Okay, one other thing, and we get a little wider about this. So in practical fact, what happens? So now you're leaving the company, 800-pound corporation.
Right.
And you're trying to work for another company, arguably within the ambit of that kind of clause. How does it play out? I mean, you'd think that they'd be kind to you, but maybe not.
They're kind to you until they're not, right? So in the majority.
Okay, that's quotable. Until they're not.
Yeah. So for the majority of people, they may not care, and this isn't an issue, and it's a clause not exercised. But for certain people, and it tends to be maybe the people you really want to keep because they're key, they will threaten to enforce it. And Hawaii, they will send a letter to the employer that this person is under a non-compete.
That's
don't
really
hire them.
nasty.
Right.
It'll scare everybody out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so just the threat of litigation pretty much sends all
So
of
you
these
lose your next job, is what
Exactly.
happens. Yeah. And then, they have their way.
Right.
Without even filing a lawsuit, they've screwed it up for you.
Exactly.
And you can't do anything, you're stuck.
And then if you do go to court, who wants to actually go to
Or
court?
you go to court with 800-pound corporation, they're
Exactly.
gonna make mincemeat out of you. Is that, in a nice way, of course.
Yes.
Well, okay, so as a matter of policy, Hawaii has been evolving this area in the courts. Well, I guess there is a statute now that talks about the geographical area and the term limit for a while. But as the chair of the Technology Committee in the Senate, this whole thing is of some concern to you because it stands in the way of the development of the tech industry, which I know you care passionately about, Glenn.
Oh, certainly. I mean, if we want to get the critical mass of companies here and the bodies that are working in those companies, we have to be nimble in Hawaii to be able to grow that. I mean, if we had a huge industry, then okay, maybe we could somehow live with these non-compete clauses as people have enough opportunities to move around. But when we have a small, burgeoning, infantile technology community here and having a non-compete hamper growth, that only hurts our policy efforts to grow the technology business. So although to an outsider, they might think, well, what's the big deal about a non-compete? To the individuals who are important in our small community of technology folks, this is a very important facet of the technology growth effort in the state.
Yeah, so it's not only the application of the law as it previously existed, or still exists until this is signed. It's the implication. It's the statement of the state. It's what the state is saying about encouraging the industry, and it's a message. So if I am, this is a real case, if I am in New Jersey considering a job over here, and I see in that contract a covenant not to compete, I'm getting a message. And if I talk to my friends and send around some mail and social media about what goes on, I'm getting another message, and the message is, don't do it. Don't come to Hawaii, because you'll get burned under a contract like that.
Right. And we want to be able to allow job growth, but ultimately, it also sends a message to management that if you want to keep that employee, treat them well, pay them a fair wage, don't put them in safety issues, or just treat your employee well, because if you're not, he or she's going to go across town to a competitor. So I think it also benefits those who are in jobs where they're happy, and then their employer will have even more incentive to treat them fairly and pay them adequately.
Yeah, that's a really big point, I think. It's like in the law business. You want to take care of your people. If you don't take care of your people, somebody else will take care of them. So that's the guiding feature. And this actually raises all boats. This makes the industry a kinder, gentler industry, which in general, all around town, treats their people better. I mean, theoretically. Exactly. The law business, you never know.
Well, the only exemption before this one for technology employees was for lawyers.
Interesting.
Lawyers exempted themselves from non-competition agreements.
Yes, well, I guess so, but you know what? I never saw one applied to a lawyer?
No, because they can't.
Yeah.
They're illegal, so, and they all know it. So.
Yeah, okay, that's smart.
Yeah, they're smart. Some industries know.
About 12 years ago, before getting to politics, I was in the television news business. And in the news business, both on the television side as well as the radio broadcast side, non-competes are just boilerplate contract language. And so I introduced 12 years ago a bill similar to what Jeff had introduced, which was going to disallow non-competes in that broadcast industry. But they came out full guns ablaze against it, they meaning the management, because in their view, they thought that their investment in the talent means I owned the TV, radio personality, and he or she shouldn't be going across town to their rivals. And in 2015, with Jeff's bill, the media initially were skittish about the bill. Like, no, don't lump us, because you could look at flipping a switch and turning on a mic as technology. So they made sure that they were cut out of this particular bill, soon to be law, hopefully. So it's really only about technology jobs.
Yeah. So what about the media industry on the mainland? Is this the same thing for them there? I mean, they build these non-competes into all of their agreements and feel they got, a long-term investment in every talent. And have they escaped the California provision?
No, not in California.
So not in California. So in California, you can jump ship if you want. Yeah.
California's like everything, right? There's no
Right.
non-competes
Very
in any
progressive
industry.
state, what can you say? So let's go further. So you start out and you have a sense of the policy here. You'd like to see this kind of thing happen. In walks Jeff Hahn with this bill, and you become the champion. And it's a very interesting role and position for you to be in, because a bill like this makes you, the giant, the 800-pound champion.
Well, I don't go into politics thinking I want to be the champion and known for anything other than just doing good work. And this is such a good case of Civics 101. I mean, 2 years ago, I didn't know who Jeff Hahn was. Today, I am fully behind whatever initiatives he wants to promote. But sometimes the public thinks that, oh my goodness, I have to be a political insider. I have to be a lobbyist. I have to be someone of some political know-how to even navigate through. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, he was a novice to it, and it took him 2 years to get it done. I wish we could have done it last year, but it was a real good educational process for him, as well as to all the lawmakers, because up until 2 years ago, we didn't know this problem existed. And then two, how we were going to figure out the language to get around this problem. So it was a good learning experience on my part, as well as for Jeff, understanding how the political system works. But ultimately, this is good government. This is one individual, saw a problem, came with an idea, had no political muscle, no political background, and made something good happen in our community.
And you didn't see it as a matter of politics, but policy. This is a state policy, and you were going to get behind it.
Correct.
So what does it mean as a senator and as the chair of the Senate Committee on Technology to get behind it? I mean, I know this is looking into the sausage machine a little bit, but how do you proceed? You make some calls to other guys on the committee. Do you talk around the Senate and for that matter, the House to get support, get reaction? What happens?
Well, maybe I can put it in perspective. In January, there were 2,800 bills introduced. As of last week, we probably sent about 240 bills to the governor's desk. So 91% of the ideas that start in January die. Jeff's bill was one of the few 9% that actually made it through this process. To answer your question, how do you become that lucky 9%? You better have a champion there. There's a lot of good ideas that are gone because they didn't have someone to champion them. So it's not just myself. On the House side, there was Chris Lee, who was an advocate, and Jeff was smart to make sure that he had advocates on both sides, right? Because if you had 25 senators and 0 reps in favor of it, you're not going to get to this day. No. So he was smart in befriending the two of us, selling us on the value of what he was trying to do, and then it made it through. So a lot of times people think like, wow, that was a really good idea. Why didn't it become law? Well, because there wasn't an advocate, a champion for that. On the flip side, you could have a really bad idea become law because there's a lot of champions for that bad idea as well. But it really, to be that lucky 9% that actually become law, you have to have someone who's going to advocate for your idea or policy decision.
Yeah. And both sides, well, three sides of the equation. One, somebody can articulate the problem and the solution. Two, a real policy point, not just, not just makeup. And three, some champions in the legislature. And that's the way the sausage process works. Yeah.
Exactly, because there are so many gates. It goes through at least 2 committees on the House side, 2 committees on the Senate side. And if you're not paying attention at any one of those gates, the bill dies and you come back next year. So you really have to keep your eye on the ball and you can't be distracted, because once you miss one committee, that thing is dead.
Okay, we're going to be distracted for a minute, though, Glenn.
Sure.
We're going to take a break.
Okay.
Senator Glenn Wakai, Chair of the Economic Development and Technology Committee in the State Senate, and Jeff Hong of Techmana, Hawaii. We're talking about sausage, finally. You'll hear more in a minute.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon, and on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I'm a senator from the Big Island. I work in the ER there. But on Tuesday afternoons, I get to come and spend 45 minutes to an hour with Jay Fidell and the ThinkTech staff. They're terrific professionals. They help us to bring some of the leading cutting-edge topics here across our state to you. So you can join us at our show on healthcare in Hawaii to talk with leaders from across all the spectrum of health in our state, or you can join us for any other show where we talk about economic development or tourism or some really eclectic programs too. So really, we'd love to see you here on our show. Thanks for joining us and thanks for supporting us.
Okay, we're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidell. It's ThinkTech. ThinkTech Talks on a given Monday, talking about sausage, finally, with respect to HB 1090, House Bill 1090 in this session. Senator Glenn Wakai joins us. He's the chair of the Economic Development and Technology Committee in the Hawaii Senate. And Jeff Hong from Techmana, Hawaii, a tech company locally, and who brought this bill to Glenn to see what could happen. Now, at first, I think you were pretty much alone. You talked to a few friends. But it's a snowball thing. Can you talk about the snowball?
Yeah, so actually I had some dealings with Senator Ihara early on, and he gave me some advice. One of them was to find Senator Wakai as a champion for the bill.
Perfect.
So that was some very good advice. I also had a friend in Steve Levinson, who was a retired Supreme Court Justice, and he actually said, talk to Jay Fidell. So I ended up talking with you a bit, and I'd heard about a bill that came about in 2002 from Tarek Hoke, which was very similar to this. And so I took a look at the bill, tried to understand the process a bit. That was actually 3 years ago, so it started a little bit earlier. Made some abortive attempts to understand the process, not quite so easy to get started on, so I did my homework to try again the following year.
So the bill from 2002, that was, let's see, that was even before Linda Lingle took office. That was way back. That's in the days of Act 221,
right.
At first blush.
Right.
And there was this, there was this momentum, or I shouldn't say momentum, this new energy, this vitality going on about trying to build a tech industry. And Tarek Hoke at the time was the chair of the Hawaii Technology Trade Association. Rest its memory. It went away. And that was his one big thing, as I recall, that he was going to try to do that because he felt from, his experience on the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what state it was, but that we should have this the same way they had it. And so he worked that bill, and he was able to garner a certain amount of support, not unanimous support, a certain amount of support from the Hawaii Technology Trade Association, which was a very active group at the time. Lots of mixers and things.
Those are always fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there emerged opposition. Are you familiar with what happened?
No, actually.
No, I
not
think it was the same
full.
opposition
Yeah.
you're talking about. Certain industries, certain companies
Right.
wanted to hold on to, non-competes. They did business that way. They held their employees that way. That was their company culture and policy. And so they were really, threatened by that bill. And they stopped it back in 2002. I don't know any more than that.
Okay.
But it didn't get very far
Right.
because there was a lot of opposition. And I don't think he had unequivocal support at HTTA. The whole idea about building a tech industry was still in foment, Act 221 was in foment. And it was not unanimous. Remember all the trouble? Everybody was arguing with everybody about everything.
But even with Jeff's bill, there wasn't unanimous support.
Right.
There were those who came out against the bill. Maybe you want to talk
Let's
about
talk
that.
Yeah,
about
and
that.
so in terms of if you talk with people in the technology business, I couldn't find a single employee that thought this was a bad idea. But if you talk to the owners, some of them said, well, of course I want to protect my intellectual property. I want this person still with me. And when I actually talked with them about technology on its, the way that we're doing it here in Hawaii, if you have such a good idea that protecting it with a non-compete you think it protects you, it doesn't. The person will just go to California where non-competes are unenforceable and start their business there. If the idea is so small that a geographic protection of Hawaii is your means of protecting that marketplace, then it's probably not worth the penalty to all of us. And so many of the players kind of saw that logic and saw that having a bigger pie of resources is a better approach. But certainly there are some that were out there that testified in opposition that said, no, I want to lock in my resources here, and that's the way we always did business, and this is the way I protect my marketplace, and my marketplace in Hawaii is fine. And so, no, it was not a completely unanimous choice in the technology business.
But you had a lot of people coming. This wasn't just you and a couple other guys. This was a crowd coming on both sides of the equation.
Mostly in support. So as I talked,
But that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
No, he had a lot of academic facts to back up what happened in Massachusetts, California, and other states. It wasn't just wishful thinking. It was best practices, and here are the facts, lawmakers. So he didn't come here with just empty falsehoods that the sky is falling. The sky is going to fall unless we lay the groundwork properly. But some of the specific folks that came out against, what Hawaiian Telecom was against it initially, we carved them out. I mentioned the broadcast folks came out against it. And towards the tail end, a public relations firm, for some odd reason, thought that he was a technology firm, and he came out against it. So when you start getting traction, when you're getting your bill from that January time period and people are seeing like, oh my goodness, this thing has a chance to become law, you also attract a lot more opposition to it. Because initially, maybe in the February time period, you might think, this thing is going to die, who cares about it? But then they see it actually gaining momentum, and that's when even more so, a lot of opposition starts galvanizing against an idea or an initiative as well.
It must be so interesting to sit where you sit and see these hearings. It must have come to you a couple of times anyway. And have, the tech industry get up there and sort of try to find out through their testimony what's really going on with them, what are they like, what are they thinking, and find the big guys who oppose it, what are they like, what are they thinking. Can you describe the experience for us, Glenn?
I love it because I'm an intellectual sponge, and I'd like to know about how things work. I mean, a good case in point of that is the privatization of the Maui hospital, right? You have the unions who are scared, they're going to lose their jobs. You have a community in Maui that needs health care and is threatening to get a lot of it cut off. And somewhere in the middle between job security and fear and the reality and new ideas is where we're going to find a better place for Maui Memorial Hospital. But it's just like, as you said, there are people who have vested interest in many sides of an issue. And for us to kind of distill that and find where is the truth, where is the happy medium, and where's the compromise so that we can better this situation. I've never had an issue come before us where there's 100% unanimous support. Someone is usually harmed in any piece of legislation.
Support on the committee, I mean.
Support from the greater community, those who come
okay.
to testify and say whether they like it or not. Yeah, of course, even within the committee, there's a lot of people who have different points of view. But I think you see that the distilling of that those ideas, both on the Senate side and the House side, and the number of gates it has to go through, really help us boil down to what is good legislation. There are some things that I have to admit I'm not too happy to be voting in favor of, but half a loaf is sometimes better than no loaf.
Sausage.
Sausage, that's right, sausage. Making sure that we have sausage to deliver to our community.
So how did your committee, what kind of a chair are you, Glenn? Can
Fair?
you describe yourself as a chair?
Fair. I think it's so sad. My greatest frustration is to get interest and money into economic development initiatives. And so much of what we collect in taxes goes to health and human services. And I'm not cold-hearted, but that's not sustainable, right? We're gonna provide more government housing, more benefits to homeless and those who are struggling. They're not gonna help us pay back and grow the economy. I am a firm believer that we need to shuttle more of our state tax dollars into growing the economy, not just for technology, tourism, agriculture, healthcare, other industries where we can get the pie bigger and pay for all of these human services needs that we have. But, oh gosh, every year is this tough struggle.
It's a major philosophical point, though, that you make.
True, because people see the homeless tents in Kaka'ako, and I tell them, we need to put more money into HTDC. That's a long-term benefit that nobody wants to wait around for. They want these tents out of Kaka'ako tomorrow, and therefore we're gonna put money there. And these front burner issues take away from our investment in the future. That's my greatest struggle at the
It's great to have you as chair, because that's a philosophy I think that ThinkTech ascribes to completely. But what about the members of your committee? What are they like? What kind of feedback did you get from on this bill?
I'm really proud to have Sam Sloan as my vice chair.
Oh, yeah, right.
And for the first time ever, his Republican cut taxes bills actually got heard. I didn't pass many of them. He wants to get rid of the corporate income tax. He wants to cut back on GET. And these are like big bills that cut $300 million out of the economy. So it wouldn't be responsible for me to move them out. But I told Sam at the beginning that we're going to at least vet. We're going to give your supporters an opportunity to come to the legislature and say why they think we should have no corporate income tax, because that's an opportunity that his supporters have never had an opportunity to talk about. So my response to Sam was, help me grow the economy, help me pull in resources here to grow the economy, then we can look at some of your tax cutting ideas, and maybe we don't need a corporate income tax one day, because through Jeff Hong and technology, we've grown the economy, so we don't need that.
It's an extension of the same idea. Grow the economy first. Yeah, that's great. So it's okay to have a Republican vice chair?
I like his ideas and am supportive of much of what he says. And I think I'm probably one of the top 2 people that votes with Sam Sloan the most on the Senate side. So I have a lot of respect for his perspective.
So how was it appearing in front of Glenn's committee? And for that matter, Chris Lee's committee? I mean, did your boots shake the first time?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of daunting. You don't...
We're nice.
No, they were very nice, but it's your first time going there, and you're in the chamber, and you're sitting in the chair, and there's a 2-minute clock on many of these things, and you don't realize, how fast that time goes when you're supposed to be saying what you want to get said.
It's true. There are some people in the community that have the courage to go up there and sit in that chair, deal with it, whatever it is. Take the slings, take the arrows, the complaints, the arguments, and do it. A lot of people would prefer not to,
But I'm sure there must have been trepidation for you at the first hearing, but after the third or fourth hearing, like, okay, you understand the process. And you realize people are not there to bite your head off.
Did you know about all the charts and graphs he was making, about the flow charts, about where it goes from here to there and everywhere?
For the bill as it moved along?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know about the flow charts.
Yeah, flow charts, yeah. I mean, I'd never seen anything so good, actually. It said that it moves from here to here, and it's a schematic.
Right.
And if this, then that. Only a programmer could do this.
Oh, I gotta get a copy of that.
Why did you make those charts? So your constituents could understand.
Well, yeah, so there was a broad swath of people that were helping out on the bill. And as you said, a lot of academics came out, and I think that's the advantage that we had. So we had studies from Stanford, MIT, the London School of Economics that said that this was going to be solid public policy. And we had some professors from MIT, University of Hawaii, that provided academic testimony, and I wanted to give everybody a chance to understand how the sausage was being made, because it's daunting, it's confusing. When we tried it the first go round, we had some trip-ups, and so the bill got held in committee and died.
That was last session.
That was last session, and so kind of understanding where we were, I didn't really understand that much as myself, and so kind of communicating it as a way to understand and to ask other people, is this where we are? What do we need to do? How should we kind of move forward with this?
So Jeff was able to resurrect it in the second session. What was the methodology? What was the way that was approached by him and by you?
I think generally it takes almost 2 years for most new ideas to become law. The first year is kind of orientation, like, what? What is this about? You're trying to do what?
Good. That's good.
And then the second year is when, like, oh, okay, I remember that. Okay, here, let's work out the details of the language. So a 2-year cycle is probably the standard there. It's very rare when you have a brand new idea come out of the blue and it makes its way all the way through.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it takes years.
Yeah.
We passed a medical marijuana dispensary bill just last week. It took 15 years for us to figure out how we were going to set up the regulatory process for that idea.
Well, and then it comes back to you, and you don't necessarily have a bias against it. You know, it didn't fail for lack of substance. It didn't fail because it was bad policy. It failed because it didn't get out of committee just the reality of the sausage machine. That's all, right? Something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take one more short break, and we'll come back, and then I'll talk to you about how this fits in a landscape of policy, in a landscape of trying, as we do, to create a tech industry. What's next? You know, I'll be right back. We'll talk about the signature too. Senator Glenn Wakai, Chair of the Economic Development and Technology Committee in the State Senate, and Jeff Hahn, Techmana, a techie guy here on ThinkTech Talks, talking about sausage, finally, on HB 1090, a great bill. We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week, we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live with Senator Glenn Wakai, Chair of the Economic Development and Technology Committee in the State Senate, and Jeff Hahn of Techmana. I'm talking about HB 1090. So it seems to me this is not a money bill, 1090. It's not going to cost anybody anything. To the extent there was opposition along the way, both last year and this year, you've dealt with it. And that was brilliant. You got them, you know, to stand aside. And thus, there was nobody to really oppose the bill. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, it was unopposed. Right?
Or minor opposition.
Minor opposition.
We
Okay.
carved those folks out of the bill.
Right. So, okay, so at this point, I can't think of a single reason why the governor wouldn't sign this. He's kind of tech-oriented anyway.
Yeah, he's a big fan of tech, so I'm pretty sure he will sign this bill.
Yeah, great. Okay, so achievement, and then it goes into effect, and then we have more than just the fact that non-competes in this category are not enforceable in the state. We have a statement by the state legislature, a nod for tech, you know, going out of its way, changing policy in order to help the tech industry grow. Clear policy is great. Where does that fit in a continuum? I mean, we've had such a, you know, sort of a sine curve of activity since the year 2000, since Tarakak, up and down, with never, you know, there was a bill in 2005 that would have given $100 million investment, okay, to the tech industry. That was something. It didn't get anywhere. I mean, what I mean is that a lot of people opposed Act 221, and when 221 died in the year 2010, there was really nothing to replace 221 as a tax credit for technology investment. So where are we? What does this statement of policy inherent in this bill mean? And what's going to happen now?
Can I take a stab at that?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that people do in the technology world, as I was saying, if you're under a non-compete, go to California. They're not enforceable. Set up your business there. And one of the, I don't know, visions of the bill was this city of refuge. California is the city of refuge for these ideas, and now Hawaii is a city of refuge for technology ideas. So if you were fleeing a non-compete from some other state,
You don't have to
you can
flee
go to
now.
California, and now you can come to Hawaii.
Yeah.
We made the affirmative statement that employees of technology businesses should be exempted from these types of agreements.
So that means you got to put the word out.
Yes,
you know?
definitely.
And through the tech industry, through anyone who's hiring or being hired in the tech industry.
And we're the only one in the nation that have this type of exemption, and so it should resonate well.
Okay, so how would you get the word out? I mean, remember my friend in New Jersey?
Yes.
He's waiting to hear from you.
So the academic community is now waiting to hear from us. One of the pieces of testimony that came out was Michigan had changed its laws from prohibiting non-competes to allowing them and saw people flee. Well, now that we're doing the reverse, let's see the studies to see if that indeed helps us. We're currently ranked 51st in the nation for technology industries. We're behind the District of Columbia.
Yeah, okay.
We're behind the District of Columbia, inclusive of the 50
my
states.
goodness.
So we only have,
Can
so we
only
have
get
that. But yeah, hopefully this will be at least one piece in the puzzle to have really key people want to set up business here, and while they're waiting out the penalty box, as we call it in the business.
You know, part of this is that, thinking back to the days of 221, is that because of all the argument within the tech industry itself, the spokesmen for the tech industry, they were hurting their own credibility. And when they came, walked in your door or appeared in a hearing, there was a cloud around them because they'd been involved in all these arguments, you know, and each one bashing the other. So the result was the industry was treated as a bad boy. Now, I think we've turned a corner on that.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned from Act 221 was let the industry speak for themselves. So much of what Act 221 was about was advocated by attorneys and accountants. And the tech industry kind of were lost in that discussion as those two groups of people advocated for their, in my opinion, greedy, selfish interests, regardless of whether tech industry had a good business plan or tech company had a business plan. But I think we've learned a lot from Act 221, and you're seeing us take a more methodical and smaller bites at the growth of that sausage. And 2 years ago, HSDC, Carl Fuchs got $6 million for his high growth initiative. This year, HTDC did very well. They had $2 million for SBIR Stage 2 and 3 funding, matching grants. We also created a manufacturing grant program, which we dropped $2 million into that pot for Robbie Melton, HTDC, to help grow automation in the state. We also passed, one of probably the biggest technology bill we passed was a resiliency bill for making sure that we have broadband capacity in the future. We put $25 million for us to have more cable landing sites, right? We shouldn't have just one site in Makaha. And heaven forbid that thing goes belly up, or homeless person gets an axe and cuts a cord. We're dead.
Yeah.
We need to have more cable landing sites. So we put $25 million into that, and a lot of other dollars to figure out what is our broadband future in the state. So this was actually a very good year for technology in the state.
Yeah, great to hear that. So it sounds like this is part of a larger process, and that tech is actually being invigorated. It doesn't take too much when you don't have much of an industry. Now maybe there'll be more of an industry. I mean, do you see this nod, so to speak, state nod, so I call it, as generating a greater industry? And the old question, sorry to ask this question, but How long will it take? How soon will we see results?
I would have thought we would have seen those results today. We still need that one grand slam home run out of the park. It could be Oceanit, it could be True Tag, it could be somebody, but somebody's got to hit it out of the park, because I think beyond this audience that's watching us here today, the general public doesn't see tech as real and doesn't see that it's viable. I mean, I look at astronomy and the possibilities for us to really be the forefront, international world, global leaders in aerospace, and we're not there. Because when I talk to my constituents about telescopes or communication ground stations or the terrain of the Big Island to be a NASA campsite, they think, like, get your head out of the clouds, Wakai. I need jobs now. I need issues. I need my road paved, you know. And I understand those issues as well, but at a certain point in Hawaii's future, the greater community has to see that tech is important and that we need to invest in making it an important part of our industry. We're not there yet. We put $82 million into tourism because that's what we know.
Yeah.
We are not yet ready to put that kind of money into technology, which could be even larger than tourism for our future.
Yeah, but there's something happening among this new generation down in Kaka'ako. It's the entrepreneurial, the maker generation, if you will. They don't have it quite yet, but one thing is clear: they're determined to stay here, determined to make a run at it, you know, determined to get involved somehow, to feel the benefit. So there'll be a resonance, if there isn't already, between what you're doing and what they're thinking.
And now they can hop from place to place freely.
That's true. That's true.
But when you look at some of the other bigger industries, agriculture, tourism, I mean, there are big corporations that help push whatever the initiatives were in those industries. You look at technology, it's kind of a smattering, right? Each of us can create our own app and become our own tech company. So there isn't a corporation that's pushing the technology industry. But through Jeff's bill and other bills, we're slowly coalescing these very disparate group of people who all have this creative, inventive bone in their body, and bringing them together and saying, we got to push forward with a greater good and magnify and amplify the voice of technology in the state.
From your lips to God's ears, or at least from your lips to the governor's desk.
Well, I'm glad God listens to ThinkTech.
What do you see for the future?
Hopefully we'll be able to attract a better community, larger community of technology professionals here, and that we'll be able to, from this core and seed group, build out a better technology industry. And now that, with the cloud and the ability to build anywhere and to have the infrastructure located anywhere, environment and the geography of where you live and the quality of living and the sense of community, those are the things that are going to be the big sell, so that we can have the big win from people that are having ideas in a place like Hawaii.
Yeah, you got to work on both sides of that track, though. It's from my article I was telling you about tomorrow's paper, in the Star Advertiser, about public spaces. Why do we care about it? Why does ThinkTech care about it? Because it offers a better quality of life to those same kids who would go into the tech industry. It's a recruiting tool to bring them here and keep them here. So we have to make, this a utopia, is what I said in my article. And that helps build tech,
Absolutely.
So it's all these things focusing on one. Okay, so I'd like to offer, before we finish, I'd like to offer my congratulations to both you guys for, a sterling effort, not in 1 year, but in 2 years, to find the content, to hone the content, to meet the constituencies, and to get it through and make the statement. It's fabulous. And my question is, what's next in specific bills? Anything? Can you talk about it? Is it written? Have you had thoughts about the next step here?
Not me.
Nobody's watching, Jeff, so it's just us.
Okay.
No, but it should be, Jeff, right? I hope that his success really ignites a fire in him that he can go help others, because a lot of people came to his assistance.
I would
getting his
definitely
bill
help
passed.
others with good ideas. Certainly the doctors will be coming back with a similar bill next year. I look forward to helping them.
Okay.
They were with us last year, and kind of having two ideas move forward at once was a little too confusing.
Yeah, the consequences come. You don't even intend them, and they happen. Well, you'll see more of Jeff then, is that it?
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking
You
forward
see
to
more of
working with
Glenn.
Senator Wakai, yes, certainly.
Thank you
We
both.
really need to change the economy of Hawaii. And I keep telling, when I talk to kids about the future of Hawaii's economy, I tell them, you know, this is the muscle that we utilized in the past for economic growth. And this is the muscle we're going to have to be using in the future. And I think that we're slowly getting to that point, building the critical mass of people who first understand policy, sees that technology can be real, sees the benefits of it, and slowly we're making inroads, and slowly we'll be able to stand foot to foot with the tourism industry, ag industry, construction industry as a real pillar of our economy.
Would you come back and tell us about it?
Most definitely, especially since God is listening to ThinkTech.
Okay, that's Senator Glenn Wakai, Chair of the Economic Development and Technology Committee in the State Senate, Jeff Hong of Techmana. Congratulations to both of you here on ThinkTech TV, ThinkTech Talks about sausage finally.
Sausage pizza.
That's right.
Thank you both.
Thank you.